dawn light. Welcome to Forfellingness Belysning, illumination from the ancestors, guiding your path today.
Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
Good morning. Happy Wootens Day to you. I hope today is going well and that everything that you hope for is beginning to evolve in your direction. Today, we're talking about really the Veil of Samhain. Now, for those of you not familiar with it, this is a holiday or a festival that's actually celebrated more of a Celtic holiday that is, and I apologize, I just woke up. But anyway, it is celebrated as the end of the summer. It kind of marks the end of that weather that we can kind of get out there in flip-flops and all of those things that we like wearing, right? So, but as every ending is a new beginning, it actually marks the beginning of the winter season, season that brings a whole new set of life and certainly adventures that can raise us up and help us along our way. So, as it is with the good, it brings some things that obviously are unwanted, and we'll talk about those today and how we can conquer those in our everyday lives. Today, I want to start off by saying, as always, thank you so much for all of you who have followed, and subscribed on whatever channel, and or you're listening live this morning on KWWP radio, which is kwwp.org. Check them out. Wonderful channel dedicated to culture and many different cultures, all the different tapestry of cultures throughout the world that have come to life and really help provide the richness of our human experience. I also want to give a huge shout out to my friends and family. I could not imagine life without them. New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com, of course, a streaming channel dedicated to bringing us a plethora of spiritual perspectives, hopefully one that will resonate with you and help you along your journey. So I hope you will check them out. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our affiliates this morning. You can find them all at akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. There you can find the collection thereof. Every purchase that you make through one of those links obviously goes to supporting the show. So check them all out. Wonderful group, including one that I'm most kind of focused on in my own life, just the way I am, and that is finding the good. A wonderful organization that helps us to recognize those good things in life for both ourselves and for others. So check all of those out on our affiliate site, again, akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. Well, today we're talking about the Veil of Samhain, or as it's more properly pronounced, Samhain. And I think it's ironic here today on Wotan's Day that we celebrate Samhain and that we consider what it really means, and that was Samhain really marked the end of summer. It was kind of the last hurrah before we got into the cold season, and it was more think about it, a couple thousand years ago, and we're talking about we're trying to survive the summer, or the winter rather now, the winter cold, the snow, the storms, all of those things. So quite a bit going on as far as the everyday individual. What I think a lot of people kind of look at when we think about the Norse or even the Celtic history, is they think about what they can read in the books and what's been kind of published, if you will, in all the many different sources, and all's well and good, and I can deeply appreciate that, and it really gives us a whole lot of insight. We have to look past the books. We have to look past the publishings and past all of the known things about these cultures and about these peoples. There were a lot of people that may not have subscribed as strongly or as weakly as others. You may have had, we think about the conquering of Scandinavia, ultimately by Christianity. And we think about the pockets of individuals located throughout the country, throughout that area, whom may not have just jumped on board with this new fandangled spiritual understanding coming from the South. They may not have subscribed to it. And so you notice as we look at Christianity and certainly its deployment throughout Europe, or Scandinavia particularly, we see it really being forced from the top down. So these religious zealots would go and they would convince the royalty of the area that, hey, this was a great way to get control of your people and to secure funding for wars or whatever you needed funding for. And so this was a great way to do that. And once the royalty bought on, then it was just a matter of, the king's men and could now enforce this new fandangled religion. But there were pockets of people who probably didn't subscribe right away and or didn't subscribe at all. When we think about the practices and the doctrine, the ideology that was promoted for, as an example, this new religion, think about how it really morphed into kind of absorbing this any local practices into itself, so that it kind of fit with what they were already doing. They kind of, instead of hard resisting against them, instead of hard pushing against the localized peoples, they would just kind of massage it in there. And so this is really where we find All Saints Eve and All Hallows Eve, Saints Day, those types of things are really coming into to kind of make sure that those individuals who didn't subscribe could participate, and then they could kind of ease them back into this new practice. Whenever we think of a beginning, we have to think of an end. So we have to, when we talk about belief systems, when we're trying to wrap our minds around, changing our belief systems, changing the way we look at things, we need to think about killing off the old one. As I've engaged in psychic channeling and trance work throughout my shamanic studies, one of the things that has really kind of stuck with me is this idea of dark energy, and how dark energy is really used for change. It's really identified during a particularly a substantial change, as in leaving one thing to go to another. Many people think that, oh, it's like jumping from ship to ship over icy cold water. You take your chances, and one miss and woo, right? But that's really not the way it is. It's really one step to the next. Those who would want us to absorb the energy of fear and control and manipulation are going to kind of teach us that. They're going to tell us that, oh, hey, if you're going to make this leap, it's this big, ginormous thing. When in 1989, for those of you who don't know, in 1989, I overdosed on heroin. And during the recovery, during the following 3 months, really, of learning to live without the drug, one of those beautiful souls who saved my life took me to one of these meetings, one of these AA meetings. And they were trying to get me to move past the need for the drug, so that psychologically I was changing. But I think in the big picture of things, what neither of these systems recognized was this idea that I had a choice. We talked about possibly a misstep if you relapsed into your old behaviors. What did that mean? Oh my gosh, was that horrible, and that was such a bad thing? And no, it really wasn't. It was a misstep. It was a directional change. It was a learning opportunity. But it wasn't this horrible thing. It wasn't falling off a bridge into the cavernous river below. That's not what it was. It was simply a step off the rocks, a learning opportunity, a way for us to see it a little differently, maybe to recognize more strongly the need to be back over on the path that we were on of recovery. So a lot of people think that these are setbacks, and they're these, one step forward, 18 steps backwards, and that's not the case. It's one step forward, one step sideways, right? So we're just stepping to the side. We're observing a different set of coincidences that are going to occur now because we made this lateral step, right? So if we were continue to go on our path, there are certain opportunities and certain accomplishments that we'll get on that path. But sometimes we're required to step to a side, one side or another, to look at our forward trajectory with a different perspective, being able to kind of see it maybe from a different view. So while I don't recommend falling off the recovery wagon, I do say that don't take it as this massive thing. Just know that you step to the side, and now you can get back on the path. You're only one step off. You're not, all the way down in the river below. That's not where you are. So step back and continue walking forward. Learn from your mistake. You step to the side. Whatever, was on your mind at the time, it happened. What did I learn? I learned that if these types of situations arise in my life, that they're going to be challenging. I'm going to need to prepare for them. Again, this goes to the darkness. Remember, when we're talking about the future of recovery, we may be that's dark. That's a lot of dark energy. We don't know what's out there. We don't know if we're going to be successful. We want to be. We want to get things in control. We want to be, directing our ship, but we don't know that that's for sure, right? And so, by using opportunities along our path, and certainly any missteps that we happen to take, to illuminate the path, to see it more clearly, now we're beginning to take away that darkness, and we're beginning to take away the imaginary process of creating fear and uncertainty. And that's what imagination is going to do for you. It's going to create that fear. It's going to create that, for lack of a better word, imaginary outcome. We don't know that it's going to happen. Maybe based on previous experience that there's a good chance it's going to happen, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. All right. When we think about the laws of probability, stepping away from our spiritual journey for a minute into our science journey, the laws of probability are open for discussion. All right. I mean, just because this event has occurred the same way every time, all the time, forever in a day, does not mean it's going to happen that way the next time. Okay? There is a probability that we could have a different outcome. Now, Einstein says that by doing the same event and expecting a different outcome, he is kind of that underlying definition, if you will, of insanity. Well, I kind of disagree to some extent. I agree that, yes, if you are putting in the same energy into a situation, into a scenario, and expecting a different outcome, yes, probably not the best use of our time. However, if we were to change our energy in any way, shape, or form, remember, you're changing by the moment, and the environment's going to change, things are going to change. So chances are, as you go into this situation, the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 10th, 15th, whatever time, it may not be the same scenario. All right? So things are changed. There's variables that are shifting around. Everything is kind of different than it was a couple of minutes ago. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. So, remember, laws of probability say that even though we've had an established path, it does not mean that it is the only path, right? It could change. Environments are changing, you're changing, the energies are changing. I mean, everything around you is changing by the experience, which, if you think about an experience, think of your life as you witness everything in your life. Think of those as snapshots. How many snapshots can you get in say, a minute, right? And each one of those snapshots has an emotional processing to it. It has a thought process to it. It has a memory attachment. Everything. So all of this is changing all the time. Many people have asked me, well, what is your take on recovering alcoholism or drugs or whatnot? And I say to them, what do you think alcoholism is? What do you think this addiction is? And they say, well, it's the drug kind of taking over my body and mind, and it's making me do the... No, it's not. It's about control. Okay? You can either surrender your control to this addiction, to this whatever, or you can drive the ship. It's up to you. We can place blame anywhere, right? So if you need, I went through the 12 steps when I was recovering from heroin. Sure. If you want to place your the credit onto something else, something bigger than yourself, okay. If that's the motivation you need, if that's the energy you need to be successful, awesome. Use it, right? But in the big picture of things, do understand that when we're talking about, I'm an alcoholic, as an example, I'm an alcoholic, and I go to an event, a social event, and there's alcohol being served there. Do I have to drink? No. Can I have one drink? I could. Many people do not have the control to do that, but you could. You could just have one drink, just like everyone else, right? So the idea is really not the alcohol. It's really not the drugs. It's the control. It's the mental control. Who has control? Are we surrendering it? Are we retaining it? Talking about Samhain, or Samhain, as it's referred to, thinking about ending and beginning. So, with that note, where are they? I put my, oh, there they are. They're hidden. It's not my fault. No, it is no one's fault. It is the gods who have tested me this morning already. All right, so what is today's rune? Oh, it is my favorite rune. My favorite. This rune is called Yira. Yira represents the seasons, and I think it is super ironic that we have Yira today on, of course, the recognition, if you will, of Samhain or Samhain. Amazing, I think. It's super ironic. Yira represents the season, and it represents the changing of the seasons, but it represents a pattern within the seasons, like breathing. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. It represents that which will come after and which has come before. So it's past, present, future, all wrapped up into one little rune. Yira tells us that things come into our lives, challenges, celebrations, everything comes into our lives during a certain season for a certain time. When we speak, one of the things that I'm asked most often is how long does one grieve for? When one is grieving, excuse me, for whatever reason, right? And what does that? How long does that last? How long is it proper to grieve? But there's no book for this, right? There's no, oh, you can only grieve for 4 days. You can only grieve for 4 nights, whatever. No. You're going to grieve for as long as grief serves you, right? So you're going to, but what we need to do is we need to recognize where that value shifts, where the grieving no longer has purpose, when it's no longer advantageous to us as individuals. All right, so super important that we recognize that, and we'll talk a little bit here in just a minute about that, how to recognize it, how to finish, how to start, and how we go through our lives, particularly as today we recognize Samhain and we recognize the power of Odin. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
In the air.
The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
All right. Thank you for rejoining me, and thank you for staying with me. I very much appreciate it. And I want to give a huge shout out, another big shout out, to my friends and family at NewRealityTV.com. Wonderful collection of spiritual perspective. So do check them out. As always, check out all of our affiliates at akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. There you'll find many different types of products that you can use for yourself and your family. Remember, everything you buy through one of those affiliate links provides support for the show, for the mission, and certainly for the nonprofit. In addition, you probably noticed that there's a store at the end. Check that out as well. The store, of course, all proceeds go to supporting the station and, of course, this message. So check that all out. Today we're talking about Samhain, and we're talking about the advantages and what that means in our everyday lives. We're talking about endings and beginnings, changings of seasons. Our rune this day is that of Yira, which talks about the seasons and how they come into our lives and why they come into our lives, particularly at given times. And most importantly, it talks about, or today's show is really about mental control, us maintaining control and not surrendering to that which will pull us from our path. And again, we've spoken about addictions and alcoholism and any other type of addiction for that matter, where we're allowing it to kind of control our decision making, our thought process, really, at its core. And it's making decisions for us that we may not agree with, and so really understanding that control. So today's exercise, when we're talking about using all of this knowledge that we've gained, we're talking about how do we exert our control. Well, the first key way that we have to identify when we're talking about using this intellect is we have to understand where we are. It's almost impossible, or it's very difficult, I should say, to provide defensive countermeasures when you don't know where you are, right? So you don't know where the high ground is, you don't know where the low ground is, you don't know where the bogs are, you don't know where you have solid ground at which to stand on. So understanding who we are, what we're about, where we come from, what has come together to build us in the way that it has, all of these things will provide us with this solid ground at which to stand on, in which to then build our defensive mechanism. Now, the good news here is, as we recognize who we are and as we put this kind of thing together, it provides in of itself a level of defensive measures against being drugged off the path, being drugged down these different directions that we may or may not want to travel. So having the knowledge of who we are, now how do we learn who we are? Well, the best way to do that is, I find, for me, it has been journaling or writing things down, asking myself questions, digging into why I believe what I believe, right? Why do I understand it the way I understand it? Why do I do this when people do some event or I have some experience in this physical realm? Why do I respond in the way I do? So I'm asking myself, remember, for those of you who have been with us for a couple of shows, you may know that I speak of the well of the self. The well of the self, of course, at the very bottom of that well are virtues, values, and belief systems. These rocks that have been placed in there by either us or by anyone else with whom we've provided some level of authority in our lives, they've put these rocks in there, and then we've grown them, shrunk them, broke them, moved them, buried them, done all kinds of things with them to arrange them in such a pattern on the bottom that when our energy is coming in through the mood ring and coming through our brain, our thought process, and coming into our heart, our heart brain is what some of my ancestors refer to it as, and it's being converted from energy into biochemistry. It is during that process that we see what our values, virtues, and belief systems really are. Well, when you sit down and spend some moments in quiet contemplation where you can actually ask yourself questions, you can establish what your rocks are. Which rocks do you want? Which rocks don't you want? I'm reminded whenever I think of rocks, whenever I think of maintaining the rocks that we have in our lives, I think about generational hate. It's a wonderful example of being able to pitch rocks out of our belief system. When I was a young man, my father, with whom I have all types of emotional classifications for, but he disliked. He was very European in his view of life, and so anyone who wasn't of the same skin color he was, it was inferior, right? And so I, on the other hand, do not tolerate that. I do not deal with it. I don't. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So my sons, who are native, my friends who are from every clime and culture you can think of, all, I love them as if they were me. They are wonderful people. They are wonderful examples of the human race. And it doesn't matter. Nothing matters really when it comes to people. And so I was able to remove that rock because, like many, he tried to instill that value in me, of which I didn't want to hear. So I took this rock out of my well and I pitched it. I threw it as far as I could because it held no value to me. There was nothing there. So by understanding ourselves, we can determine which rocks are there, which rocks will now interpret the experiences that we have on this physical plane. We can do this. And we do it with quiet questions, with just communicating with ourselves, with reflecting intrinsically, and looking at what and who we really are. So take some time to figure out where you fit in that. All right. All right. It is a Wootens Day. We're also embracing the power of Samhain. We are a couple of days away from the holiday Halloween. I hope that you and your family enjoys this, the beginning of the holiday season. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. But I also, before we get there, I look forward to seeing you tonight as Sporksmall brings to us a new question and a new answer, of course, that hopefully will provide something that resonates with you and something that can help answer those questions for you as well. Remember, as always, we keep the chat line open, so if you do have that question, comment, concern, by all means put it in there and let's talk about it. Let's look at it and really remember, if I do make a show about the question you ask, we will send you a free shirt. So win-win. All right, my friends, I look forward to seeing you again this evening, and then tomorrow as we embrace the power of Thor. Tonight we'll answer one of your questions, and we'll look forward to that. I'm really excited about that. In the meantime, check out kwwp.org, radio station online. That is for the nonprofit, the Alaska ulfhednar, which helps to restore culture and the importance, the value of culture and ancestry into our everyday lives to help us find a better mental space. So do check them out as well. And we will see you again this evening. I wish you the absolute very best. Love and light, my friends.